Welcome to the Real Estate Pros of Houston podcast, where host Mark Zachary talks to high-producing real estate agents in the Houston area about their story and what makes them so successful. Each episode, our guests will tell you what they're doing that works and what makes them so successful, as well as insights that will help you take your business to the next level. Now, here's Mark delivering a true real estate pro of Houston.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Real Estate Pros of Houston. And today we have Alex Rezende, and he is very well known around the area. And I was honored to have him accept our invitation to be a guest. And we know it's a busy time right now. And so this was it's a big treat for Alex to join us today. So Alex, thank you so much for being a part of our show today.
My pleasure, Mark. Thanks for the invitation. Looking forward to it.
You bet. We love doing this, and it is our way. We're getting a lot of leads and things come through on Google and on our YouTube channel. And we thought, you know what, we need to give people access to some of the top agents in the area. And so we went out and did some research, and you popped up as one of the best around here. And I've seen your name for a long time, and obviously never met you, but have seen your name, and I know you have a great reputation in the business.
Well, I appreciate that. We try to have that, right? As a matter of fact, in real estate, it's all about reputation and relationships, right? So,
yeah, that's right. Well, I always like to start off, and sometimes this one question will take us through this 30 minutes, 40 minutes, something like that, because it's a question that a lot of people just love to answer and tell their story. So Alex, just tell me your story. How long have you been here, and how long have you been in the business, and just a little bit about you personally, and then we'll get into the boring business stuff later on.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. Happy to share. As a matter of fact, before I start, I guess I could say, if you want to know more details about it, besides what we're going to talk about today, I do have a book. It's called Rising in America, and it talks about me coming into the U.S. So I'm originally from Brazil. I moved here in the late 90s, about 97, 98. Came in basically to go to high school, college, and stayed. Been in real estate since 2003. I started in new homes, sold new homes for about 7 years. Mm-hmm. And I got my real estate license in 2008. I've been on the resale side since about 2010. So
you got in right about the crazy market crash.
Yes, I've seen it go up when I was selling new homes from 03 to 08, 09, and also seen it go down. And so I've seen, and obviously this new section of real estate that we just had recently, I've been through a few ups and downs, which is a lot of fun, lots of experience to do that. So almost 20 years now into it, and I have a few gray hairs to show now, which is good. Because when I started, everybody looked at me and they were polite, right, Mark? They would be like, "So how long you been doing this?" Because I was so young.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things you could tell that they were asking because you're just a young guy, and it's an expensive item that they're buying from someone that looks like they're 22.
Yeah.
So having a few gray hairs now helps to add a little bit more of I guess they feel more comfortable that I'm a little more experienced now, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's the best way to put it. You're more experienced. You're not
20 years into real estate, 3,000 homes later kind of thing, right? So
yeah. Man, that's incredible. I've been doing this 29 years. Next month, May of 2023, will be 29 years.
That's awesome.
And I think I'm going to have to get some different lighting because it really makes me look gray. And so I need to fix that. So
it's all right.
Because it can certainly do it. And it can be a stressful job, but it's a very rewarding job to have. So
yeah. It is.
All right, so you beat me to it about the book because I saw that online, and so tell me a little bit about the book, and then before we forget, we want to know where you can purchase that.
Yeah, so absolutely. So The book was something that I had heard people over the years just, ask questions, make comments about things, and say, "Hey, you really should write a book," right? And you hear that a few times, and you just think about it, and you're like, "Man, me writing a book, forget it," right? I'm like, I'm not gonna write a book. Who am I to write a book, right?
Yeah.
Those things kind of cross your mind, and over the years, you start maturing and you learn things, and you start feeling like you do have a few things to share. Our country was going through a big change and a lot of immigration issues and laws, and immigration is always a big topic, right? So I decided to put this together because I thought it was a really good guideline for someone coming into the U.S. and wanting to be able to migrate the proper way, to be able to come into the country and add to our nation so that it become better and bigger and stronger, as opposed to come in and take advantage of what the system has to offer. So that was really important to me, because I did have lots of struggles and I did have lots of lessons and a lot of hard times, coming from another country at a young age, not speaking the language and having to start from scratch, right? So I kind of put some really good bullet points in there to help people to understand how to adapt the quickest way, and to be able to cut some of the learning curves that would come with anybody moving into another country, starting over. So that was what it was about. And it became a really cool, inspirational story. I've got it in Portuguese, which is obviously my original language. I've got it in Spanish and also in English. So it's got three different dialects that you can choose from. It does have an audiobook in English.
Really?
So you can obviously get an Audible. You can do it at Amazon. The book's available on Amazon, so is the audiobook. So you can do the Kindle version, you can do the hard copy, or you can do the Audible. And it's a very nice short read. That was one of the things. The gentleman that I went with, he's a really good ghostwriter, and he helped me do a lot. And they've got a lot of research on how big a book should be and things like that. So it's really about 120, 130 pages. It won't take you but about 2 hours, 2.5 hours to read. The audiobook version of it is right at about 2 hours. So it's a very nice short read, straight to the point, not a lot of fuss, not a lot of extra stuff. It's just basically, some guidelines. And then at the end of each chapter also has some questionnaires to kind of ask you to kind of figure out where you are in that part of the process. So I've had, like I said, a lot of great comments. It's been a really, really good book for a lot of people. It's kind of feels nice to have people calling you and say, "Hey, I read your book and it made a huge difference for me," or "I read your book and you helped me with this that I was struggling," or I understand now why this was so hard for me back then. So I hear all kinds of different comments, and obviously even from Americans that were born here, they go, "Man, it opens my eyes to see things different, where I should maybe look at things this way as opposed to be used to or accustomed to having all the wonderful things that we have here and kind of give it for granted," right? So there's a lot of good stuff in there. It's not just for immigrants. It was written with kind of that in mind, but at the end of the day, it's an inspirational book and it can be read by anyone.
Interesting. Well, I will definitely go out and buy it. I'll probably do the audio because I enjoy listening to podcasts and books as I'm driving around. And when we started this podcast and the other podcast, we're like, okay, we're going to keep these around 30 to 45 minutes,
Right.
to where somebody could listen to something on the way to work or the way home or something like that. So a 2-hour book, that's just that's 4 trips, one here, one back home, and then and one more day, going back and forth. So
absolutely, yeah. If you do that, and if you do me the favor to do that and give me a nice review on there, I will give you an autographed copy as well. I'll get your hard copy autographed as well. I'll be happy to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I will definitely do that. So do you plan on writing more, or writing another book on this subject? Obviously, it's a big issue right now.
Yeah, I believe so. I think that was a really good first edition. But it's just like anything in life. I mean, it's been 3 years already. I released it 3 years ago in October. So this year is going on 4 years. So you learn more and you hear more things about, the subject from people. So when I do come around, I will have definitely some other things to add to the book. And it might not be exactly the same, obviously, in regards to the topic, It'll be more of an expended like later on, because I give a lot of starting things like how did I start, how did I do things in the beginning. Now it's more of now that I'm at where I'm at, how to go from this to better or how to manage it, because that's the other part of it that becomes very challenging. People talk about having things, and I talk to my kids and I talk to anybody that I know that if you can't manage $10, you can't manage 100. If you can't manage 100, you can't manage 1,000. If you can't manage 1,000, you can't manage 1,000,000, right? That's just the way life is. And sometimes we all want things, but it's given to you as you can actually as you can manage it, because if you can't, they'll come and go fairly easy. And I think that's the other part of it, is that when you do start to have things, when you do start making it, is how to be able to add up on and care for, and then, just kind of like your yard, right? You plant it, you grow it so that it becomes pretty and fruitful. It's not a one-time thing, right? It's a season after season. And as you know, being in real estate for 30 years, our business is very much like that.
Yeah.
Every season you start over, right? Every year, every month you start over, every year you start over. So it's a pond. It's continuation, right? So
right. Well, that's good stuff, man. We could end the podcast right now, and we've already learned something from you. So, well, that is very special. I know writing a book is it's got to be tough. I've never even I've considered it, but I don't know if I'll ever get around to it. But kudos to you for putting a goal down and getting that done.
Yeah, thank you. It was like I said, it was not one of those things that I've always looked at and said I was going to do. If I tell my 5th grade teacher or even later in life and go back and I told them I wrote a book, they'll probably laugh, right? They'll be like, that kid wrote a book? There's no way, right?
Yeah, that's funny. So I tell you what, I kind of think I know this answer, but because you've referred to them already a couple of times, but what gets you up in the morning? What is your why?
I'm a service industry guy. I've always been. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy doing things that I feel like have some sort of impact. Obviously for the family, always, right? My family comes first, just like anybody else. I mean, if somebody says that's not the case for them, it's kind of ridiculous at the end of the day. But if you do some for you, but a lot of it's for your kids. I didn't start taking things as serious as I do now until you start having kids, right? Because now you have responsibilities. Now you have things that you have to show up for. So I would say the kids and family, and then my team. That's my big one too. When I do things, I always have them in mind to know that I'm not affecting just my life; it's also theirs. That's the big one. I enjoy people that I work with. I enjoy what we do together and the difference that we make with all of our clients. I just came back from a closing before I talked to you here. Somebody that I met 4 or 5 years ago, helped them buy a house, and they selling that home, buying another one, and it was just cool because I'm seeing they're growing, and they were starting family back then. Now they're a growing family, right? And you're part of that journey. You're part of that experience with them, and you're their advisor. I'm a real estate advisor for them, right? I'm not just their agent or the realtor. I'm someone that they'll come to when they have anything that they need in regards to making that investment, because that's what it is. So you're kind of a jack of all trades almost, because you have to be able to sometimes be a psychologist and psychiatrist with people. Yeah. Sometimes you're a credit repair person. Sometimes you're an investor guru, right? So you have to do a little bit of everything. And I think that's one of the most challenging things in real estate, is that wear all those different hats. And a lot of it comes from life experience. Like I'll say that my job is not really a job to me. It's my lifestyle, but it is a lot easier to do now than it was when I started, because now I live it, right? And this is what I do. So when I have conversations with people, when I go over things, I'm not having to go off a script. I'm not having to go read a book. This is life experience. These are things that I have done for my clients and for myself, right? And when you sell as many homes as we have over the years, and you get as much experience doing the things that we do, it's basically you're speaking from experience and speaking from the heart. I don't have to remember or make up a story or it's just what it is, right? Yeah. And so that's really what's fun about it. I had a scenario from a month and a half ago. A gentleman met me, and we went over everything he needed to do for his house to get it sold. He got a little overwhelmed. And like most people do, they don't always tell you, right? They kind of do their thing, and they don't really tell you, hey, I'm overwhelmed. Oh, this is too much. Or they just kind of do something and you find out about it later. So long story short, he called an online iBuyer to buy his home. And I had to explain to him that what he was going to get out of it was probably a lot less than he thought it was. But I understood. If he wanted to give it a shot, I respectfully, I let him be, right? 3 weeks later, I get a call from him asking me to basically save him from what he got himself into, because
Really?
at the end of the day, what I said was exactly what happened. And I told him I wasn't trying to be mean. I wasn't trying to be discouraging. It was just that's the fact. That's just how it works. And after he realized that, he called and apologized and asked for help. And here I am, now 45 days later, a month later, trying to get him back on track to get the process going, because he decided to try, an online iBuyer, right? Yeah. So those are the things the experience that we get from our everyday job that saves a lot of people a lot of money. It takes a lot of frustration and a lot of anxiety out of it, because buying or selling a home can be overwhelming to a lot of people, right? We're somewhat numb to it because this is what we do for a living.
We do it every day. We use the same acronyms every day, and a lot of people don't even know what we're talking about.
Correct.
If we don't step back and say, you don't do this every day, so let me hold your hand to help you out and understand that. So
correct. And that's basically what we try to do. Is that's the part where I would say one of the differences in what I do is I have the teacher at heart mentality, and the service industry part of it. You're just basically easing the process for them, just kind of break the steps down and just kind of guide them through it and allow them to feel their emotions, because they're going to feel it. You can't just say, don't worry about it, right? It just doesn't work like that. Mm-hmm. People are going to worry about it. People are going to feel anxiety. So it's a way for us to kind of minimize that feeling and kind of ease them into it so they're not overwhelmed, so they understand and appreciate what you're doing for them at the end of the day, right? So.
Yeah, and then when you're telling them about your why or you're expressing, why you do what you do, with your family and stuff, I think that is such a great way to connect with somebody, because they are worried about their why. I mean, they're trusting one of the biggest transactions that they'll ever make to you,
right?
And it will impact their family as well. And so, before I forget, I have 2 kids as well, and mine are 30 and 28 now. And if anything I would say is, man, enjoy the time that they're younger. I don't know how old your kids are, but the time goes by so fast. And it just seems like last weekend I was coaching my daughters in softball,
right?
And now they're 30 years old and 28, right. And now I'm expecting my first grandchild next month.
Congrats!
And so we're excited about that. But it's all about the family part, and it sounds like you really have done a good job at balancing this profession and your family.
I try. It's like you said, it's challenging, but it's something that I tried as much as possible. My kids, I have 4 kids, so I've got one graduating college here next week, and then another one in December. Another one's graduating out of high school this next few months. So I've got basically 2 graduations in a month, and another one 6 months from now. So there's a lot going on in our household, but it's always fun. Never a dull moment. Yeah. Sometimes they said that we need a reality TV, and I said, no, we don't, because if I had one, I'll probably kill everybody on that. But otherwise, it's all good.
Well, good. So what made you get into real estate? I mean, your story is very unique, but why did you choose real estate?
So a few reasons. One, I actually have, in my family background, my grandfather was a developer of land back in Brazil. So I've kind of heard and knew about that since growing up, right? That was something that he did. And I've always kind of felt interested in it. I always liked it. So real estate's always been something that intrigued me. The other thing is I was in hotel and restaurant management and hospitality, which I guess is where my service industry comes into place. And I was in the sales department, and I used to rent meeting spaces and bedrooms and, hotel accommodations and stuff for groups and and training packages and all those things, right? And I've always thought to myself, so if I can rent it, why can't I sell it, kind of thing?
Yeah.
And so I started looking into real estate, and the hours in the hotel industry are pretty brutal, right? Because the hotel is open like a hospital. They're open every day. There's no holidays. There's no time off. So you would work a pretty crazy schedule. And people always talk about the real estate hours are bad. And I go work in a hotel or in a hospital. You realize how bad hours really are. So I kind of decided to do something like that back then. I had a friend of mine that used to work with me in hotels that went into new homes. And he was kind of like somebody to look up to see how he was going to do, because we had kind of the same similar background. Within 6 months of doing it, he was doing very well. And so I had a feeling that was something that I could do well myself. Mm-hmm. So I got into sales, like I said, back in 2003, and never looked back. It's just always been something I enjoy. And I got you see in the back there, right here.
Yeah.
New home dude. Probably back in 04, 05, was probably when I started using that. I had customers that I would call to follow up, and I was selling new homes at the time, obviously, and I would call to follow up, and I'll ask them, hey, how's it going? This is Alex. I'm so-and-so builder. And they would kind of talk to each other on the phone and be like, hey, the new home dude's calling, because they were like, they wouldn't remember your name, right? They talked to so many people.
Right.
Just don't remember your name. So I heard that 2, 3, 4 times on the phone. And I started saying, I'll just make it easier for them. They're not going to remember my name anyway. So I just tell them.
Right. I'm the new home dude. Right?
So I trademarked that back years ago.
Really?
Yeah, it's been something that I've had. And a lot of people in the city know me by it. And I have sold crap ton of new homes. So it's not something I just carry because of. I mean, I do have a lot of new home experience, and I've sold a bunch and sell every year a lot of new homes. So.
Yeah. So what, how is your business going this year? Or let me rephrase that. What are some challenges that you're having this year that you maybe didn't have previously?
There are always, the real estate industry is always changing, always moving. I would say a lot of sellers are more hesitant than they had been before. One is homes were selling for a lot of money and very quickly with the last few years. So a lot of people that were on the verge sold, right? The ones that were kind of like, well, this is the time to do it, they did. So the ones that are now thinking about it, either they feel like they missed the boat, or they feel like, they want to sell it, but they're a little hesitant because interest rates are higher. Maybe they're not going to get as much as they did a year or so ago. So you can definitely tell they're more concerned. Where the buyer or the sellers last year were like, they're ready to go. They're like, just give me as much money as you can and let's sell it, right? So we're seeing a little bit more of that. A little bit also people are questioning economy. They just kind of wondering how things are going to be. Is this a new pricing that we're faced with for a little while, or do we see another increase, or do we see prices going down? So a little bit of uncertainty. So like I said, a lot of questions. A lot of buyers and sellers are questioning and trying to understand. My experience and the way I feel about it is I think we're kind of in a new flat. I think that this is basically our new baseline. The reason why I say that is because if you look at Houston as a whole, our number compared to any of the major 20 metropolitan cities in the country, we were still underpriced, right? Now, not so much. Now we're probably going up closer to 8 to 10 as opposed to being on the top 20 as we were before. So our number has definitely increased because prices have gone up. But even then, being almost the third largest city in the country, because we're right there with Chicago. We're pretty close. I remember hearing a census a while back that we were about to pass Chicago. I don't think that happened yet, but we were pretty close. So when you look at, New York, LA, Chicago, and Houston, and you look at our home prices compared to those major areas, we're still very, very accessible. Yeah. Right. So when you go down to the top 20, top 15 cities, that's when you start seeing our numbers getting a little closer. Well, what happened with COVID and allowing a lot of people to work from home has generated a huge amount of people moving into Texas for our great schools, for our great healthcare, for also not having estate taxes like a lot of states do, right? For home affordability, for pricing of homes. So you've had a major increase in migration of people here. So that all changes the market, right? That all kind of makes things be a little different than what they used to be, and people kind of want to know what's going to happen. And I feel like we're pretty solid. I feel like the Houston market is a great market to be. There's still a lot of homes being sold. There's a lot of homes being built. There's still a lot of people moving here. We have seen also big increase in investors from all over the country, even internationally, right? There's been a few years where we went through a huge amount of Chinese investors and Indian investors and people from all over. But we've seen a huge increase of that. Rental market has gone up by quite a bit, which is normal. So people that were renting 5 years ago, and they try to go find something else now, the gap between that and buying a home sometimes can be overwhelming, which I think that's another thing that might have slowed down the market a little bit. The fact that people need a lot more. The prices of the homes being higher, it's increasing the down payment amount that they need to bring. So you see a lot of those. So people that are buying now are being more careful. They're being more thoughtful. They're processing that into a project. It's more of, okay, if we're going to do this, it may take, like for most of my clients, it could take anywhere between 3 months to a year before they buy a house. Where I remember years ago, people were just, I want to buy a house, almost like a car, right? They go out, they buy it, and kind of go through the mortgage process, and they're ready to go. So now it's not like that. I think most people are preparing for it, which they should. It's a huge purchase, right?
Yeah.
So people are being a little more cautious to that, and they're taking their time to making those decisions. And that's the reason why I think the market is actually fairly solid, is because you don't have a lot of impulse buyers and you don't have bad loans. I mean, people are really putting money down. There's cash flow into it. There's equity in homes. So I think that's what makes the market a lot stronger in our area. So
I think so many people had talked about another market crash, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen, because there's not enough houses on the market to have that happen, and you have tons more buyers now than you did, and then in 2009, 10, when the other crash hit.
Right.
And I think one struggle we see with sellers is, they may be coming out of a house that they were able to refinance down to 2%, and now they're going to have to buy another house at 5 or 5.5 or 6, whatever it may be. And so that's kind of grabbed them as well. But we do a different analysis for them to say, okay, well, the prices will continue to go up, and the rates being at 2%, that was not normal. What's normal is what you're seeing today, and I think the longer the rates stay about right here, the more it will become the normal to the new buyer. But everybody says, well, man, I just wish it would get back to normal. 2% is not normal. And the only reason they were down that low is because the federal government kept buying billions of dollars of mortgage-backed securities to keep them low. So the total economy didn't collapse during COVID. Well, when the economy, when the government stops buying those bonds, then the prices go back up. So this is normal. But the people that just look at 2019 and 20, they think that's normal. So I think the longer they're like this, the better off we're going to be.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think the interest rates are good. They're normal. 5-6%, even 7%, in my opinion, it's fairly reasonable. And it's also a solid number based on inflation. People talk about interest rates, but then they forget they're 25-30% on their credit cards. And that just drives me nuts. And, when it comes down to it, we sit on a lot of kitchen tables and talk to a lot of clients, and most of the times their home is not their issue. It's the toys, it's the cars, it's the credit card, student loans, right? All those things become more of a problem than the actual house payment. So, it's just an adjustment. I think that's where people love to have the ability to buy things on credit and to live sometimes a lifestyle that maybe they shouldn't. And that's what they want to do. That's fine. We understand it. And we're here to help them facilitate whatever their goals and dreams are. But at the end of the day, you do have to prioritize, is the home the problem, or is it something else in your finances that maybe should be given up? Because it's not as important as your home, because your home is the main reason why you're concerned about these. And that's where your family lives, and that's where your memories are made. And, and that should be your priority, right?
Yeah. And then you have people that will sit and and buy and rent over and over, and then they're complaining about the 6% interest rates. Well, your rate right now is 100% when you're renting, and so they're like, oh well, I didn't think about that, because none of it is going towards buying anything for you. So
Right.
so let me ask you a question about some of these challenges. Are you doing any special marketing, like video marketing, YouTube stuff, or online type stuff to, get your message out there that, hey, these are some challenges and this is how you deal with them?
No, that's
No?
the short answer. Right answer is no. I have that conversation a lot with my clients, but I do not have it out on social media and stuff. And I debate on that sometimes. Should I not? It's irrelevant. But at the end of the day, my biggest thing is I spend a lot of my time on the phone with my clients going over those things. And I think that part of what, like I was saying, they look at me as an advisor. They're calling me and asking me anyways.
Yeah.
So I guess I could increase maybe or put it out there or educate more people. Yes, possibility. But it becomes more of, what do I rather spend my time in kind of thing. So that's really what it comes down to.
Well, if you're getting a lot of business from past clients, that you're obviously doing it right, because you're not having to do those things. You're just getting some repeat business and personal referrals.
Yep.
And I teach classes, and one of them is, man, we ought to be able to not take it easier, but this business ought to be easier the longer we're in it, because we're treating our clients the right way the very first time, and they will use us over and over and over again if you just stay in touch with them. And I think HAR or NAR has a stat that says 92% of people would use you and me again if we stayed in touch with them.
Right.
But only about 12% do.
Right.
So you're obviously doing something special to stay in touch with your past clients.
A little bit. I mean, I tried. I'm not one of those to pass through them, and I have this conversation with them all the time. I don't send them letters and emails and all that stuff for every month or every quarter. I try to touch base with them regularly to a point where I feel like it's reasonable. Just because we get so much junk, we get so many emails, we get all these things, and one of the things that I don't want to do is I don't want a client buy a house, get in there, and then the first 6 months, a year and a half, they're getting all this literature from me, and they're gonna be like, Alex, I just bought a home from you. I'm really not gonna buy another one for a long time. So what happens at that point? They'll unsubscribe it, they'll turn it off, they'll feel like it's you plastic them or it's too much. So I most rather go meet them and contact with them after their third, fourth, fifth year of being in the house, because at that point they'll potentially start looking at something again. So I guess a different strategy, but at the same time, yes, I do the way I feel like it's worked for me, but it is not a monthly, weekly, quarter kind of stuff like a lot of people do.
Yeah, I'm surprised at the number of newsletters I get that is exactly the same from about 15 different real estate agents that they say they're different, and yet they send the same newsletter that 15 other agents are sending. So
they buy a service that everybody else is buying, and they send it. Right. Yeah.
Right.
We don't do that. That's a personalized email or this or that. That's usually what we try to do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what are some non-negotiables for you? Meaning, what has to happen every day or every week or every month, or if it doesn't take place, I'm not going to be as successful as I want to be?
I would say I do have a routine, right? I do have things that I follow by on my calendar and schedules and stuff that I try to stick to. Some personal time so that I'm productive, because I do feel like if I don't take a little bit of that, I'll also, just like anybody else, you can kind of start tuning out or just not being in the right state of mind. So I try to reset myself as much as possible so that I stay on focus. And if I feel like I'm falling out of it, my goal is always snap out of it as fast as I can. And I think that's one of the things I see a lot of people struggle with is when they get in the sales rut or some sort of issue is just being able to see it first. And then second is try to snap out of it as fast as possible, because the longer you stay in it, the harder it is. And sometimes just getting back on it and helping a customer. I've had many days where I wasn't feeling 100%, and I went to see a client and I went home feeling better because, again, I am in that service industry and I enjoy that. So I try to get in front of my people. When I'm not feeling my best, that's actually when I go see clients. That's when I want to see people.
Yeah.
I know they'll actually bring me up. They'll help me get myself back in it because it makes me feel good knowing that what I do makes an impact and they appreciate what I'm doing. So everybody's their own, right? So you just got to find that something, like you were saying. So that's, I would say, a non-negotiable for me would be is just my state of mind. Like I definitely always fight to keep that as good and sane as I can. I have a lot of moving pieces and parts from everywhere, and just trying to manage that is always important. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's so important. I get on it's called Breakfast Club, and it's every morning at 7:30, and it's just loan officers from all over the country that are sharing their struggles and their wins and losses and things like that. And you think, man, I don't want to get on there again, but it is very encouraging to hear other people going through the same thing you're going through, and yet they'll also have the wins, and so
Right.
that encourages you to keep going, and it doesn't allow you to get in a funk for very long because there's just too many uplifting people on that thing. So yeah, it's super important.
That's cool.
Let me shift gears a little bit about your team. Tell me a little bit about your team. How many are there? Are you looking to build that, and what are you looking for in regards to that?
So our team has been around since 2010. My partner Mari and I started it back then, and I've got a strong but small team. We're probably production-wise, we're probably the highest per agent out of the teams in Houston. There's teams with a lot more people than us, and teams obviously with less people. But
yeah,
look at production per agent, I think ours is probably one of the highest, and that's the thing that we try to do is make sure they're all productive. Doesn't always happen, right? Because it's individuals, but that's the go. So I've got 4 buyers agents. I've got a team leader and a transaction coordinator, transaction person that helps us out. That is also an agent. So it's, like I said, it's small. It's not anything crazy, but we do produce a pretty good volume based on that number. And we're a tight family. I mean, it's not, most of us have been here for quite a while. Some of us past 10 years, and some of them, I think the youngest one I've got right now is 3 or 4 years. So it's a pretty solid, and we enjoy hanging out. We do a lot of events together. We celebrate everybody's birthdays every month. So we try to do things as much as possible, just to kind of make sure that everybody's staying in the right direction, in the right state of mind. But it's that's like probably the challenging thing for us is running a team. But it's also one of the most enjoyable ones because you're impacting their life as well as they're impacting yours, right?
Right.
When you say a team, it really has to be that team feeling, and that's the hard thing is just keep everybody's morale and keep everybody connected. Because there's personal stuff that happens just like there's business stuff, so it's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of work, and sometimes not as I guess rewarding in certain extents as people would think. You got big teams there. I know there's a lot of team leaders that I've talked to, and they have a lot of people, and and becomes a lot more problems sometimes than actually work. Just having people is not. It's not always the idea. What you want is people that produce. You want top people in your team that help you become better, and that you help them become better, so they can impact from their family. So looking for people, we're always looking for aces. If there's somebody that's good that would line up well with our team, yes. But it would be a lot of it, not just work, but also personality.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we are a tight family, and if it's kind of like you're bringing someone in, they're marrying into your family, So you want to make sure that they connect well, that they get along with everybody. Not a bad apple per se.
Yeah. So. Well, when you think about your career, do you ever look back and say, "Man, I really cut a break here," or do you feel pretty sure that I didn't get anything everything handed to me. I've worked for this. I've worked hard for this. I've worked long hours for this. Or do you say, man, this right here was my break?
Mark, I'm grateful for everything that happens to me one way or another. I don't think that I ever look at one item per se and say this was the one or another. I think it's a combination of things. I refer back to building a house a lot of times, just like on anything else in life, because that's what we do. You got to have a strong foundation. So what I always worked on, it was just people and systems, right? And I think that's really, if I were to say, that's the best thing for us, has been just having the right people in the right places. And then the rest of it was doing the work, doing the job. I'm not sure that there's a break per se to say, oh, that was the one thing that turned. If it was my people. I mean, that's what comes down to, right?
Okay. Do you ever look back and say, man, I wish I'd have done this differently, or I would have done this sooner, or I shouldn't have done this? Looking back on your career in the real estate industry, what is something you would have changed or done sooner?
When I lay my head on my pillow at night, I'm really a weirdo guy when it comes down to that stuff. I analyze a lot of things. I kind of think about my day, think about
you
things.
too.
Yeah, and I'm big on making sure that I lay my head at night, that I'm good, that I go to sleep and I feel pretty good about it. When I can't do that, something's bothering me, and then it bothers me, and I work on it until I get it knocked out. So I don't really have any regrets or anything that I would say I would change, because I do take my time thinking, and I've got proof of that with people here with me that didn't come to work with me as soon as they would like to. It took years to get in here, but at the right time it happened. But also, I didn't make certain decisions in there because of that too. So I had time to process all the stuff. I do process things. I try not to jump on it. There are certain things that I will. I mean, I will be quick on it. I just jump on it and I make decisions really fast. But there's some other things that I take my time and I really analyze it, and I think so. I would say not much. The only thing I would say, as not as a real estate agent and not as a team leader, I wouldn't say I would change much. As an investor, I would say I would buy more houses. If I got to go back, and I would say, you know what, I should have bought more homes than I bought. I do buy homes from time to time, and I wish I had, especially when I started, back when things were reasonable, you could find homes at $100,000 everywhere you look. I just wish I had bought more homes. That's one thing that, I've had people tell me before, real estate agents, as they start making a little money, they try to find places to invest money. And if there's one thing I can suggest, is that invest the money in what you know. So buying this, buying that, stocks or annuities or whatever other stuff you want to get into, it's great. That's fine. But at the end of the day, you're an agent. If you're a successful agent, you're good at your agent, you probably should invest in real estate. Because that's where, that's one thing you can kind of control. You can have a feel for the market, and you would be able to make more money doing that than trying a lot of other stuff that you have no clue about. So.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the answer that I was going to ask another question, but you kind of hit on it. But because I was going to say, Alex, what is there's a younger Alex out there that's thinking about doing this. What is some advice you would offer this new agent that's just coming into the business?
Well, I mean, I'll do the one that I tell everyone of new agents that I meet, is that you have to learn how to budget. Believe it or not, I have seen many really good agents and many good salespeople in general, not just real estate, but mortgage, insurance, all these things, to where if they don't learn how to budget properly, and if they don't learn how to manage their money properly, they will potentially go back to 8 to 5 because they just couldn't manage their money right, or they will put themselves in binds that were unnecessary because when they were making the money, they didn't save enough or whatever. So that's really if you're going to be doing sales for the long run, is learn how to manage your money and avoid buying too much on credit. If possible, buy cash. I've done that many times over, where if you're making a lot of money, just put the money aside and wait. And then when you have it, go buy it.
Okay.
So that's really the ones that, as money management. I don't think there's enough classes on that. I don't think there's enough people talking about it. And I think that's most of the times is not really them making money. Sometimes it is, but then that's a whole nother issue. That's more of a attitude thing. That's more of a mindset, and maybe some skills they could work on. But once you're actually making it, is being able to manage that money properly so that you actually have something to show for later on.
Yeah, you made a great point that there's just no classes on that. I mean, those classes ought to be in the junior high and high school age before they start even earning money. So when they do earn money
Right.
and get their first job and they're working at McDonald's or whatever it is, they know how to budget from the very start. But I don't remember any of those classes when I
Right.
was in school.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to go to college to learn how to balance a checkbook. I remember
Right.
uh, being in an accounting class, and this lady said, "If you will learn anything in this class, I want you to learn how to balance a checkbook." And that was something that I didn't even have visibility to until 18, 19, 20 years old. It's just insane
Right.
that the basics of money management is not taught at a younger level.
Yeah, it's like I said earlier. If you can't manage $10, you can't manage 100. You can't manage
Yeah,
1,000. You can't manage a million. It's just how it goes. And I've seen
yeah.
it many times over. Sometimes it becomes a chasing thing where oh, if I just make more money, I'll fix my problems. No, if I just make more money, usually you just get more problems.
Right, right. All right, man. I told you 30 minutes would
Yeah,
fly by. We're at 45 now. So I've got a couple of more questions,
sure.
but this mainly is I'm going to have the lightning round for you.
Yep.
But this is back to the personal stuff. What is one thing you've always wanted to do that you haven't done yet, but you still have in the plans to do?
That's a good one. I think I probably say I'm pretty close. If I haven't done everything I want to chew, I'll be surprised. I haven't. That's eventually, believe it or not, that's been one of my things is trying to come up with a new list of stuff. Because
Okay.
I don't sit around much waiting for stuff. I'm more of if I want to do something, I go do it. So
Gotcha.
I'm trying. I'm in the process of creating a new list. But what I'm doing right now, I'm enjoying it. So I don't have a new list because what I'm doing has been a lot of fun. So so I don't have an item that I could say. There's not one thing about I want to go do this. I haven't done it yet.
Love it. Love it. You don't want to live with the regrets and that you didn't do something that you wanted to do, or you're about to get a lot more free time with all these kids, graduating and going on and starting their own lives. So you got a little bit of time to come up with a new list.
Yeah, it'll probably be working.
Yeah. All right. So here's my lightning round, quick answers and short questions, and
Sure.
then we'll wrap this up. So, who is your favorite author or speaker?
Jim Rome.
Jim Rome. Okay. Yep. I love listening to him. Does he have a podcast that you listen to?
Well, Jim's passed away, but
Oh,
I've
he
had pretty much
has.
I've
Okay.
had pretty much all his books and stuff over the years. So yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Favorite vacation spot?
Cozumel.
Cozumel. I've been there. Very, very pretty. Favorite pastime or hobby?
Racing cars.
Well, you know what? I saw that on your Facebook as I was stalking you earlier,
Yep,
and saw you race cars, right?
that's right. I race them and instruct them. I teach people how to drive too.
Really? How long have you been doing that?
Almost 10 years now.
Really? Is there a place around here that you can go, or do you have go towards College Station? I think there's a big.
Angleton. You can go to
Angleton.
Angleton. There's a track out there.
Okay. All right.
MSR Houston. Yep.
Got it.
Yeah. Anybody has a question on that and hit me up. I'll be happy to help out.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Die Hard. I'm a Die Hard guy.
Die Hard. All right. The good Christmas movie, if I'm thinking the right one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And favorite sports team?
It depends on what sport. So I've got
You know what?
sports that I follow.
Let's go football.
Football. I am a 49ers fan.
Really? Are you a college guy or a pro guy?
I would say mostly pro.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm more college. I used to be a diehard Dallas Cowboy fan growing up in Austin, and man, I don't know. Pro has just really lost.
Yeah, I get it. I
the
get
last
it.
few
I still,
years.
yeah, no, I hear you. There's a lot of good college teams. They're fun to watch. As
Yeah.
far as watching, they're very enjoyable. I like it. But when it comes down to it, I'm a 49ers fan.
Yeah, I love the bands that are there with high school and college, and
Right.
and it's a lot of fun. But
Yeah.
well, Alex, I can't thank you enough for giving us almost an hour of your time, and
Yeah.
I know you're busy, and it was great to get to know you a little bit better. And so if someone wants to reach you and they want to buy or sell, how would they go about doing that? I know we have your number rolling across the bottom.
Got the number going there, but I'll say it again. It's 713-516-6106. My email is alex@alexrezende.com, which is the website also, alexrezende.com. You can go also newhomedude.com and use that as well. Phone number is also right up there. So those are available. And happy to help. Appreciate it. And when you get a chance to read the book, make sure you do the feedback from me on Amazon. Those reviews are very important. It's hard to get people to do them. I was telling somebody earlier today is that people only write reviews usually when they have bad experiences. So it's hard for people to do it for good reasons. So if I can get you to do that, that'll be great. And then when you do, let me know. I'll get you your hard copy signed, send your way, no problem.
All right, that sounds great. I will definitely let you know. So,
all right.
Thank you so much for being a guest. It's been a pleasure to have you on here.
Yep, same here, Mark. Thanks so much.
All right.
See everybody later. Take care.
All right, take care, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Real Estate Pros of Houston. Follow us on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple, and iHeartRadio, and check out our main website at nextstephomeloans.com for more information on mortgage news, loan programs, and getting pre-approved for a home loan or set up a quick home buying consultation. We'll see you next week with another episode of Real Estate Pros of Houston.